There's a truth about love that many never understand. When you meet someone who carries walls around their heart, it's not because they don't feel, it's because they feel too much. They've learned somewhere along the way that closeness equals danger, that intimacy means losing themselves. But here's the paradox: the very thing they long for the most is the one thing they fear the most. And if you want loyalty that lasts a lifetime, you cannot rip down those walls with force. You must invite them to lower them with choice. When you honor someone's need for space, you're not abandoning them. You're sending a signal: I see you, I respect you. I'm not here to control you, I'm here to walk beside you. That shift alone is magnetic, because suddenly, love doesn't feel like a trap, it feels like freedom. And freedom is the doorway to devotion. The greatest mistake people make is chasing, pushing, demanding, thinking that more pressure creates more closeness, but pressure only reinforces fear. True power is calm strength. When you stand in your grounded energy, you're telling them, I'm solid, I don't need to cling to you, I choose you. That kind of energy transforms suspicion into safety and safety into loyalty. Consistency is love's most powerful currency. Words may stir emotions, but actions create trust. When you show up not once, not twice, but over and over again, steady, reliable, unshakable, an avoidant heart begins to whisper, maybe I can count on this. Maybe I don't have to run. That whisper grows into faith, and faith is the root of lifelong loyalty. And let's not forget independence. Don't try to suffocate it, celebrate it. Show them you can be present without being possessive. Show them your strength doesn't need their approval to shine. When they see you respecting their individuality while fully embodying your own, their fear of losing themselves dissolves. Because love with you doesn't feel like surrender, it feels like expansion. But the greatest act of power is patience. When they retreat, don't punish them. Don't take it personally. Understand this: retreat is not rejection, it's regulation. It's their way of finding balance. And when they come back, and they will, you'll still be there, steady, unshaken. That experience etches into their soul: this person can handle me. This person is safe. Finally, know this: you can't inspire loyalty by begging for it. You inspire it by embodying worth. When you stand as a man or woman who knows their value, when your presence radiates confidence and love, you become irreplaceable. An avoidant may resist many things, but they cannot resist the pull of true strength fused with unconditional respect. That's the moment loyalty is no longer a choice, it's a natural response. So if you want to touch the deepest part of their soul, don't fight their nature. Work with it. Give them space without fear. Offer strength without pressure. Show consistency without demand. And carry yourself with a worth so undeniable that staying by your side feels less like a decision and more like destiny. When you are dealing with someone who needs space, especially an avoidant, the first instinct most people have is to interpret that space as rejection. They believe that if the person they love pulls away, it must mean there's something wrong with them. They start chasing, pressing, questioning, trying to fix what doesn't actually need fixing. But here's the truth: space is not rejection, it's self-preservation. It's a coping mechanism that says, I need to find safety in myself before I can trust safety with you. And when you honor that space, when you don't fight against it, you are actually sending the most powerful message possible. You're telling them that their fear is safe with you, that you are not here to smother them, but to stand with them in strength. Think about what it feels like when someone constantly intrudes upon your energy, when you feel pressured to respond before you're ready, when you're autono. I is questioned. It doesn't feel like love. It feels like a trap. Avoidants live with that feeling amplified. Their nervous system has been conditioned to believe that intimacy equals suffocation. So when you react to their pulling back by pushing harder, you only confirm their worst fear, that closeness means losing themselves. But when you do the opposite, when you allow the distance without making it about you, something extraordinary begins to happen. You break the pattern that every other person before you has reinforced. Instead of confirming their fear, you create safety. Honoring their need for space is not about disappearing. It's not about ignoring them or pretending you don't care. It's about showing them that you are secure enough in yourself not to panic when they step back. It's about saying with your presence, and I'm here, I'm steady, and I don't need to collapse because you need air. That level of calm confidence is magnetic. It builds trust, because now you're not a noth. You're a person trying to pull them into the fire of their own fears. You're the person showing them they won't burn. This requires a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, why are they pulling away? Ask him, what if this space is part of their way of connecting? Instead of taking their withdrawal personally, see it as their way of recharging, of finding balance. Your job is not to chase them down the moment they step back. Your job is to remain grounded, to continue living fully, to radiate energy that says, and I don't abandon myself just because you need a moment. That message penetrates deeper than any words could because actions speak to the subconscious in ways language never will. When you honor space, you also communicate respect. Respect is the foundation of loyalty. By seeing Sai, respect your rhythm, I respect your timing, I respect your process, you are telling them that you value them as they are, not as you wish they would be. That is rare. Most people try to change avoidance, to push them into more intimacy than they're ready for. But the one who earns their lifetime loyalty is the one who doesn't demand transformation, but instead embodies acceptance. And in that acceptance, the avoidant feels what they've been searching for all along, freedom without fear. It's also important to realize that honoring space builds a paradoxical closeness. When someone feels free to pull away without punishment, they begin to return more quickly and with more depth. Why? Because their nervous system relaxes. They no longer see closeness as dangerous. They begin to experience intimacy as something safe, even nourishing. Over time, this creates a cycle. The more they are given space, the less they feel the need to run. The more they are trusted to regulate, the more they choose to connect. That cycle is how loyalty is born. Not from control, but from freedom. So when you see an avoidant stepping back, don't let fear dictate your reaction. Don't start questioning your worth, D. Don't flood them with calls or texts. Don't collapse into panic. Instead, stand tall. Keep living, keep thriving, keep radiating love from a place of abundance, not desperation. That strength, that poise, that patience, those qualities are what penetrate their armor. That is what tells them, I can trust this person. I can relax here. I can love here. And when they feel that truth in their bones, loyalty isn't forced. It flows naturally and it lasts a lifetime. Most people think love is about intensity, about showing more, doing more, proving more. They believe if they can just give enough affection, enough attention, enough pursuit, they'll finally convince the other person to open up. But the truth is, when you are with someone who has avoidant tendencies, that strategy only backfires. The harder you push, the more they retreat. The more you chase, the faster they run. It's not because they don't care, it's because pressure feels like danger to them. To an avoidant, closeness that calm. S with urgency feels like losing oxygen. So the greatest gift you can give them is calm strength, not frantic pursuit. Calm strength is the quiet power that communicates, and I don't need to control you to love you. I don't need to overwhelm you to prove my place in your life. It's the difference between desperation and confidence. Desperation says, please don't leave me. Please give me what I need. Confidence says, son, I am already whole, and I choose you, but I do not collapse if you need space. That energy changes everything because it tells the avoidant nervous system something it rarely hears. Love doesn't have to mean suffocation. Think about the people in your life who make you feel safe. They don't demand your constant attention. They don't panic when you step away for a moment. They hold their ground. Their presence is steady, not shaky. And because of that, you find yourself wanting to return to them. Avoidants respond the same way. They don't need fireworks and pressure. They need peace and presence. When they feel that, when they see you leading with calm instead of fear, their instinct to run begins to fade. This doesn't mean you silence your needs or pretend you don't care. It means you express those needs from a place of strength instead of neediness. There's a world of difference between saying, "Funny you never spend time with me, and I can't handle it," and saying, "I love when we connect deeply, and I'd love more of that when you're ready." The first statement is pressure, it demands. The second is an invitation, it empowers. And invitations are irresistible because they give the other person choice. Choice is the language of freedom, and freedom is what the avoidant craves most. Calm strength also requires emotional regulation. When they withdraw, your nervous system may scream at you to panic, to send the text, to demand reassurance. But strength is choosing not to follow that impulse. Strength is breathing, grounding yourself, reminding yourself that their behavior isn't an attack on your worth. It's simply their way of protecting themselves. When you hold yourself steady instead of lashing out, you prove something to them that words can't. You can handle their distance without collapsing. That earns respect. Respect is the foundation of trust, and trust is the foundation of loyalty. Leading with calm strength doesn't just change how they see you, it changes how they see themselves. Because when you model steadiness, you're showing them a different way of relating. You're showing them that relationships don't have to be battles for control or escapes from suffocation. They can be places where two strong people stand side by side, independent yet connected, free yet devoted. That's the paradox that avoids struggle to believe in. But when they see it lived out in you, it reshapes their internal map of love. When you stop chasing, something profound happens. The avoidant begins to approach you of their own free will. Why? Because your calm energy feels different from the chaos they're used to. Instead of being pulled into someone else's storm, they're invited into someone else's peace. And peace is attractive. Peace is healing. Peace is what makes them say, and I want more of this. That desire, born not from pressure but from choice, is what transforms fleeting affection into lifelong loyalty. So when you feel the urge to push, to force, to demand, remember this: real power is not in chasing. Real power is in being the anchor that doesn't move when the waves crash. It's in holding your ground with love, with patience, with certainty. That is what allows an avoidant heart to finally feel safe enough to open. And once they open to that, once they trust that your love isn't a prison but a sanctuary, their loyalty is no longer something you have to fight for. It's something they give willingly because they've finally found the one place where their soul can breathe. Trust isn't built in one moment of passion, and it isn't secured by words alone. It's formed over time through actions that line up with what you say, through consistency that proves you are who you claim to be. For someone with avoidant tendencies, consistency is not just important, it is everything. They've likely lived through broken promises, unpredictable love, or experiences where closeness always came at a cost. Their nervous system has been trained to expect disappointment. So when you bring reliability into their life, when you show up not just once, but over and over again, you start to rewire the story they carry about relationships. You begin to dismantle the belief that intimacy is always followed by betrayal. Think of consistency as water dripping on a stone. At first, it may seem like nothing changes. The stone remains solid, unmoved. But over time, those drops carve deep grooves, reshaping its surface. Consistency works the same way with an avoidant heart. At the beginning, they might not trust your words, your affection, or your promises. They might test you, retreat, and look for signs that you will abandon them like others have. But when you keep showing up in small, steady ways, when your love isn't here today and gone tomorrow, you carve a new reality into their soul. Eventually, they begin to believe maybe this person is different, maybe this person won't leave. Consistency doesn't mean grand gestures, it means reliability in the little things. It's checking in when you said you would. It's keeping your commitments, even when it's inconvenient. It's being emotionally stable instead of unpredictable. Every time you follow through, you teach their nervous system a new lesson. Closeness doesn't have to equal chaos. And when that message lands deeply, loyalty begins to form naturally because they associate you with stability. For someone who fears the instability of emotional closeness, this is the most healing experience they can have. But consistency also means more than action. It means emotional presence. Avoidants are hypersensitive to inconsistency in energy. They notice when your tone shifts, when your words don't match your emotions, when you say you're fine, but your energy is screaming something else. To earn their trust, you must align your inner world with your outer expression. If you say you accept their need for space, but your energy carries resentment, they will feel it and pull away. True consistency requires integrity between what you feel, what you say, and what you do. That integrity is rare, and it's what makes someone unforgettable. There's another layer to consistency that often gets overlooked: time. Loyalty isn't born after a few weeks or months. It's cultivated slowly, through seasons of both connection and distance. When they retreat and you remain steady, that's when your consistency is most powerful. It's easy to be reliable when everything is going well. The real test comes when their fears take over, when they withdraw, when they challenge the bond to see if you'll abandon them. If, during those moments, you hold your center, neither chasing nor punishing, you send the clearest signal possible. And I'm not going anywhere, and I don't need to control you to love you. That moment is often the turning point. It's when the avoidant begins to lower their armor and trust that you are safe. Consistency also requires patience. You cannot rush someone out of their defenses with your timeline. You must be willing to play the long game, to invest in trust without demanding immediate return. Every consistent action is a seed planted. Some seeds sprout quickly, others take time, but when nurtured, they eventually bear fruit. The avoidance loyalty is that fruit. It doesn't grow in a hurry, but when it matures, it is strong and enduring. What's profound is that once an avoidant realizes you are consistent, their entire pattern begins to shift. The same person who once ran from intimacy starts to lean toward it. The same heart that once guarded itself wit. Steel begins to soften. And they do this not because you force them, but because your steady presence redefines safety for them. In a world full of inconsistency and unpredictability, you became the constant. And constancy, more than charm, more than passion, more than words, is what makes loyalty last a lifetime. One of the deepest misunderstandings in relationships with avoidance is the belief that if you love them enough, they will eventually sacrifice their independence to be with you. That belief is not only false, it's dangerous, because it sets up a dynamic where your love feels like control and their freedom feels like betrayal. The truth is, independence is not something to be feared. It's something to be respected. It is not the enemy of connection. It is the foundation for lasting intimacy. When you learn to honor someone's independence while still showing your unwavering presence, you create a kind of relationship that feels both safe and inspiring. Avoidants are often drawn to their independence not because they don't want closeness, but because they have learned to equate intimacy with loss of self. Their freedom is their lifeline. When you try to strip it away, even with the best intentions, they feel suffocated. But when you respect that part of them, when you celebrate it instead of fighting it, their defenses begin to loosen. You become the rare person who doesn't see their independence as a threat, but as a strength. And in that recognition, they begin to experience love differently. It stops being a cage, and it starts being a partnership. Respecting independence doesn't mean disappearing or detaching. It means standing strong in your own identity while giving them room to breathe in theirs. It's about saying, I love who you are, and I don't need to control you to feel secure in myself. That message is powerful because it removes the fear that love will cost them their individuality. Instead, love with you feels expansive. It becomes a plaque. Where they can grow, not shrink. And when love feels like growth, people don't run from it. They run toward it. There is a paradox here. The more you cling, the more they pull away. The more you release, the more they return. Independence is not the opposite of loyalty. It is the soil in which loyalty grows. When an avoidant realizes they can keep their freedom and still have your presence, they stop resisting connection. They begin to desire it because it no longer threatens their sense of self. That shift is profound because it transforms love from a negotiation into a gift. But honoring independence also means cultivating your own. You cannot respect someone's freedom if you haven't first embraced your own. Too many people lose themselves in relationships thinking sacrifice equals love. But real love isn't about erasing yourself. It's about bringing the fullness of who you are to the table. When you embody your independence, when you live your life with purpose, passion, and clarity, you radiate an energy that says, I am a whole, and I choose to share that wholeness with. That kind of presence is magnetic. It doesn't beg for attention. It commands respect. And this is where loyalty is born. An avoidant doesn't want to feel like they are someone's lifeline, like the weight of another person's happiness is on their shoulders. That kind of dependence makes them retreat. But when they feel your independence, your wholeness, they trust you more because you don't need them to complete you. You want them to walk with you. That choice is irresistible. It inspires a devotion that doesn't come from obligation, but from admiration. Honoring independence also means resisting the urge to measure closeness by constant contact. Love is not proven in the number of texts, the number of hours spent together, or the absence of space. Love is proven in the quality of presence when you are together, and in the security that remains when you are apart. When an avoidant can step away and still feel your steady presence in their life, they begin to trust that love isn't conditional on constant availability, and that trust becomes the foundation for a bond that lasts. The beauty of respecting independence is that it doesn't diminish intimacy, it deepens it. When two people can stand strong in who they are and still choose one another, the connection becomes unbreakable. It's not fueled by fear, it's fueled by freedom. And when an avoidant realizes that love with you means they don't have to sacrifice themselves, but can instead expand into more of who they are, that's when their loyalty locks in. They stay not because they have to, but because they want to. Because with you, love feels like liberation. When you love someone who carries avoidant tendencies, one of the greatest challenges you will face is their retreat. There will be moments when they step back, when they emotionally withdraw, when their silence feels louder than words. In those moments, your instinct, CT may scream to chase them, to demand answers, to force closeness. But the truth is, their retreat is not always about you. It's not always rejection. More often, it's regulation. It's their nervous system searching for balance. And if you want to inspire loyalty, if you want to create a love that lasts, you must meet their retreat with deep understanding and patience rather than panic and punishment. Understanding begins with compassion. Imagine what it must feel like to long for closeness and fear it at the same time, to crave love but feel overwhelmed by it. That is the paradox the avoidant lives with every day. Their retreat is not a lack of love, it's a strategy for survival. When you can see that, when you can interpret their distance as a signal of overwhelm rather than rejection, you shift the entire dynamic. Instead of making it about your worth, you make it about their process. That perspective softens your response, and it changes everything. Patience in these moments is powerful. Most people try to close the gap instantly. They call, they text, they show up, trying to pull the avoidant back into closeness before they're ready. But that only reinforces the avoidant's fears. It tells them that their boundaries will not be respected, that love equals pressure, the opposite of what you want. Patience, however, communicates trust. It says, I believe in you. I trust you to return when you're ready. I am here, and I'm not afraid of your rhythm. That message is rare, and it builds safety. Patience doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean sitting in silence with resentment. It means continuing to live, to thrive, to love from a grounded place, even while they step back. It's showing them through your energy that their retreat doesn't collapse your world. That steadiness is magnetic because it proves you are strong enough to handle the full range of who they are. You become the one person who doesn't crumble under their silence, the one person who doesn't make their fear heavier than it already is. And that experience etches into their heart a powerful truth. This person can handle me. Understanding also requires empathy for the long road they've walked. Many avoidants grew up in environments where emotions weren't safe, where vulnerability was punished or ignored. Their retreat is a learned response to pain. When you recognize that, you stop taking it personally and start becoming part of their healing. Instead of saying, "Oh, why are you doing this to me?" you begin to say, "Saishi, see what you're going through, and I honor the space you need to find your footing." That shift from accusation to empathy creates a bond deeper than words. Over time, your response to their retreat teaches them something they've never known. Closeness doesn't have to mean collapse. Love doesn't have to mean losing themselves. Every time they pull away and return to find you steady, patient, and understanding, their nervous system rewires a little more. They begin to associate intimacy not with danger, but with safety. That transformation doesn't happen overnight, but when it does, it creates a loyalty that is almost unshakable. Because now, love with you is not something to fear. It's something to trust. The beauty of meeting retreat with patience is that it invites deeper connection when they return. Instead of coming back to conflict, they come back to calm. Instead of being met with anger, they are met with love. That contrast is healing. It makes them want to return sooner next time because they know they won't be punished for their fear. And that cycle, repeated over time, strengthens the bond until their retreat becomes less frequent, less intense, and less defining of the relationship. So the next time they pull away, resist the urge to chase. Resist the story that you've been abandoned. Instead, breathe, center yourself, and hold space. Remind yourself that their distance is not proof of your unworthiness, but evidence of their own battle. In your steadiness, in your understanding, in your patience, you become the safe harbor they've been searching for all their life. And once they discover that safety in you, once they realize you can love them without fear or punishment, their loyalty will not just be given, it will be sealed for life. You cannot ask someone to trust you if you don't first embody trust within yourself. You cannot expect loyalty if you are not loyal to your own worth. When it comes to avoidance, this truth becomes even more critical because they are finely attuned to the energy you carry. They can sense neediness, they can sense desperation, and they can sense when your love comes from a place of fear rather than strength. That is why inspiring loyalty in them is not about proving yourself through words or even through constant action. It's about becoming a presence so grounded in self-worth that they cannot help but feel safe in your orbit. An avoidant has often lived with relationships that drained them, that demanded too much, or that made them feel responsible for someone else's happiness. They are quick to detect when a partner leans on them as a source of validation instead of standing firm in their own value. That weight is suffocating, and it's what sends them running. But when you radiate worth, when you move through life knowing your value, not from arrogance, but from authenticity, you communicate something different. You don't need them to complete you. You choose to walk with them. That choice is powerful because it's born of abundance, not lack. Embodying self-worth means you are no longer negotiating for love. You are no longer bending over backward, hoping to earn scraps of attention. Instead, you operate from a place of certainty, and I am enough, with or without you. I bring value into this relationship because I know who I am. That certainty calms the avoidant's deepest fear, that intimacy will consume them. Why? Because your worth shows them you are not clinging to them, foe, our survival. You are not asking them to be your lifeline. You are offering partnership, not dependence. When you stand in this kind of strength, your presence feels different. You become steady, not shaky. You are not constantly asking, do you love me? Are you going to stay? Instead, you are demonstrating through your energy, I love myself enough to thrive regardless. And because of that, I can love you freely. That freedom is what draws them closer because it removes the burden of responsibility from their shoulders. They no longer feel like they must carry your sense of worth. Instead, they get to rest in the certainty of their own, mirrored by yours. This embodiment of worth also inspires respect, and respect is the bedrock of loyalty. When someone respects you, they don't want to lose you. They begin to see you as a partner of equal strength, not as someone they have to protect or manage. Respect makes them proud to stand beside you because your self-respect elevates the entire relationship. It sets the tone. Love here is not about control. It's about mutual empowerment. To embody self-worth, you must invest in yourself continuously. It means nurturing your passions, pursuing your goals, caring for your body, mind, and spirit. It means showing up as your best self, not only for them, but for you. When you live this way, you model what healthy love looks like, love that is full, abundant, and rooted in strength. And when they witness this, when they see you thriving on your own, their fear of being consumed begins to dissolve. They realize being with you doesn't mean losing themselves. It means gaining more of what is good and life-giving. Perhaps the most transformative aspect of embodying worth is the way it builds trust. An avoidant may test you, retreat, or hesitate, but if you remain grounded in your own value, you won't waver. You won't crumble at their distance. You won't beg for reassurance. Instead, you will stand steady, radiating the truth that you are enough. And in that steadiness, they begin to feel something they've rarely felt before, security. Not just security in you, but in the relationship itself. That security is what turns hesitation into devotion. In the end, it's not the words you speak or the promises you make that keep an avoidant loyal for life. It's the energy of self-worth that you embody. It's the unshakable sense that you know your value and live from it every single day. When you carry that, you don't have to chase loyalty. It comes to you. Because an avoidant deep down doesn't want someone who clings to them. They want someone who inspires them. And nothing is more inspiring, more magnetic, and more enduring than a person who walks in the fullness of their worth. That's the kind of presence they will never want to let go. Thank you for giving your time, your heart, and your energy to walk through this journey with me today. Remember, real transformation doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens when you take what you've heard and start living it, embodying it, and practicing it every day. You have within you the strength to create love that doesn't just survive, but thrives. So as you step forward, carry this truth with you. You are worthy, you are powerful, and you have the ability to inspire loyalty, trust, and connection that lasts a lifetime. Until we meet again, stay strong, stay grounded, and never forget the light you carry. Goodbye, and thank you.